Put on some pants at least. You're gonna get some skid marks on the bottom of your chair.
Welcome to the Stiff Truth, episode 23. How about that? I'm Bob West. I'm here with Scott Casanova, and we are definitely excited, at least to drink, but we're excited to do our show too. How you doing, Scott?
I do agree. I'm actually very, very excited today. Definitely having some cocktails here is going to be fun. This is a nice cocktail, and I had a lot of fun with it yesterday too, doing our research. As I think we both got it done yesterday, right? You actually didn't have too much schoolwork, right?
I did tons of research yesterday, tons,
you
all on the stiff drink.
Good man. You're a committed man, and
none of the history.
Yeah, we actually had to go over all the notes prior to the show because Bob, I think he passed out yesterday drinking rum, but that's okay. Nonetheless, here we do have an action-packed one ready for everybody today. First and foremost here, let's just jump right into the drama that is Maxwell Epstein. What's going to happen? Is she going to make it? What have you heard, Bob? I know there's been some developments in this very exciting story.
There's been a little bit of movement. She was transferred from New Hampshire, from whatever really Caucasian-based jail that she was in. I'm sure there. And
I think it's like Vanilla Metropolitan Center. Or
I don't know. It was like an old converted ice cream parlor in the mall. That's like got the old school bars where like the guard still has the key. So they took her from New Hampshire over to Brooklyn. So now she's living the posh life in Brooklyn. So that's very interesting. There's a lot of rumors flowing around. I think it might have been her attorney. Someone said that she definitely indeed knows where the compromise is for very powerful public officials, businessmen, politicians. There's talks of, orgies with minors and just camera footage everywhere. So we'll see how all that goes, right?
I kind of called that one. You know what I mean? It's like got to be as close to Epstein as she was, like his number one, right? And that's the thing. She supposedly, allegedly, has the entire stash that everything Epstein had, right? And so, man, if that comes to light, I'm excited. I'm going to pull out the popcorn for that one if that really gets released and she really does have that, because again, like we talked about in the last episode, I'm very curious to see who would be outed, and I'm just have a sneaking suspicion that it's not going to be the key players that everybody knows about or that everybody thinks they know about. I don't think it's going to be the Trumps, the Clintons, the royal family, so on and so forth.
I think the same thing. It'll be interesting to see what all happens there. She is trying to get out of jail to await trial. They're saying that she's an extreme flight risk, the prosecution is saying, and because she's a United Kingdom national and she can leave. But then her lawyer is saying she's lived here since 91. She's not going anywhere, and she wants to be put on house arrest with an ankle bracelet and monitored and all that and stay at her home. Which, I don't know, I'm a little bit torn. Like, she might not be any safer at all at home. In fact, might be much more gettable at that point. So I don't know about all of that. I mean, she has to assume that very rich and powerful men want to kill her right now. So
or women.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, hey, she got tangled up in the sex trafficking ring too. I don't think she always stuck to men, right? Obviously not. So who knows? Who knows, man? But yeah, there's definitely somebody way up there, man. Somebody very, very powerful that's got just a shitload of skeletons in their closet. And boy, do they want to keep them there. So interesting stuff. And I thought the other thing that was pretty interesting too, especially and I get it. I'm sure a bunch of people don't respect her. I mean, I don't, there's not really much respectable about her, but the prison that she was transferred to in Brooklyn has already gotten in so much trouble with prison guards raping female inmates. So again, nice choice to throw her in a great establishment, already a stand-up. You know, I wonder why. I wonder why they opted out of MCC. Is that just it's you would
it's
think
probably some weird jurisdiction thing of where her charges specifically are pending. I'm sure.
Like, yeah, something weird, because I thought she would end up in the same place as Epstein, because hey, they already know how to kill people in that prison, so just plug and play the same fucking thing and do it again.
Yeah, it's probably something ridiculous, like she might have a house or something in New York and it's related to where she lives and the charges are whatever. I have no idea. Yeah. But it is interesting that they didn't end up at the same place, since it seems like most of the crimes happened at the same location in his East Side, you know, mansion or whatever that is. Huge apartment. What do you call that?
Yes, I think it's like the entire building, right, is the mansion. So I guess you would just call that just a mansion. I don't know how else you have a mansion in Manhattan. You know what I mean? There's not really a lot of room.
Right.
So,
right.
You got to kind of take over an entire building, kick everybody out. Hey guys, you guys all are evicted. I'm a millionaire. I'm taking this building.
We are waiting though, with bated breath for that morning breaking news announcement that she's been found dead, because it's like every morning I turn on the news and like, oh, she made it last night. Interesting.
Good job. All right, Ghislaine, keep it going. Huh?
She's like in the corner of her cell with like a shiv, not sleeping, just
sleeping with one eye open. We talked about it too, really briefly here. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but I did read something that she does not have any bed sheets in her cell. So I mean, they're really trying to pull out all the stops to make sure that there can't be a carbon copy incident of what happened with Epstein. It's going to be a little bit different. How she's going to suicide herself, I'm interested to see how they even play that one out.
She's such a monstrous piece of shit, right? Her and Epstein both. They're peas in the pod, and she's really trying to say, well, I haven't even talked to him a decade, and I'm not Epstein. It's just like, you know, when you're delivering the child to the predator, knowing that they're about to be molested and raped, you are the monster. You know exactly what's happening. You're in it. You are a peas in a pod. So she deserves everything that she gets. However, I would be down with letting her have like 5 years of house arrest if she turns state's evidence and unlocks this crazy ring of billionaires and elite and power for people around the world. That would be the best case scenario for all of this, for all of the victims, for everyone involved. I mean, that's the best way that this can end at this point.
I agree. And here's the thing. And I know a lot of people, you know, would be like, oh, she needs to be in prison, you know, fuck this whole, you know, because they haven't even said, the prosecution has not said that they would even entertain some kind of plea deal if she has evidence. They really haven't said much about that yet, because right now it's hearsay. Does she have this? Well, a friend of a friend said that she did. And
they need prosecutorial evidence.
Yeah, they need
beyond a reasonable doubt shit.
Hard evidence. And then
especially with the clientele she's talking about.
Yeah. And then you got the consideration of, okay, say she gives you a list of everybody that she will incriminate, right? Where that list goes, how do we know there's not another degree of separation from who's seeing that's connected to one of the people on the list, and all of a sudden that list gets lost? Or it's just, you know, to me, it's such a delicate thing. But well, here's my point, though. A lot of people will say there shouldn't be a plea. She is a monstrous person. You could argue that she's even worse than Epstein, you know, basically feeding him the victims, right? Like you were kind of saying. So there's that. But let's just face it, man. I have no problem, especially if she did incriminate all kinds of crazy fucking people and just blow the lid off this fucking disgusting, like, what's this global sex trafficking ring with the elite and the rich and the powerful, right? I wouldn't care if they let her out fucking with like a year probation, because here's the thing. The stigma that she's going to have for the rest of her life.
Her life is over.
Yeah. It's not like she's ever going to be able to come back from this and get back into high society. It's just not going to happen. So
no, she'll be able to write a book, make good money, cause we'll all buy it. And then she'll be able to like try to find some, you know, private place and retire quietly and try to live her days out. I'm okay with that. I agree with you.
Yeah. So I think as long as she's got the weight to put other people behind bars and to expose this entire thing. And again, I don't care if it brings down entire industries. It's the right thing to do. Yeah, she can go with a slap on the wrist, because I would not want to be this lady for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Fuck. That would be rough to live with. But again, does she really have a problem living with herself? I would have to imagine not.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, she hasn't to this point, right? I mean, if this would have gotten her and she was going to, kill herself from guilt or whatever, she would have done it years ago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I haven't talked to Jeffrey Epstein in 10 years, and I'm just like, I find that hard to believe.
No,
weren't you at, like, Bill Clinton's, like, daughter's wedding?
Yeah.
When the hell was that?
Oh, did you see that picture, the last photo taken of JonBenet Ramsey, and like her fucking face is right in the background? Did you see that? That's creepy. Look it up when you get a second. Stiffies, check that out. I mean, talk about a sick predatory bitch, man. Just anyways, she'll get what's coming to her. I just hope it's slightly after she's able to release some dirt. You know what I mean? So let's hope for that. And then she can suicide herself all she wants.
Okay, that was 2010. So that's 10 years ago. So maybe that was the last time they were together. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyways, you probably want to start separating yourself from the man after he gets indicted and charged in 2008. You're like, I think this is not going so well, Jeffrey.
Right. That's so weird that he had all these business relationships at that point, after that point. I don't know about you, Scott, but I'm fairly certain that I don't have a single relationship with a convicted pedophile. I'd have to do some fact checking on some of my questionable colleagues, but I'm fairly certain that I don't.
Well, it means they did a really good job expunging my record. Well, so that's good.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Pedophilia is not a joking matter, but here we are joking about it because we're sick fucks.
I know.
Well, anyways, this will continue, right? The saga continues. By day, like you said, it's nail biting day by day by day. And who knows? I think she could be starting to get a nice little sneeze and a cough and chest, pains and fever all of a sudden too. She could have the new strain of COVID that kills you within 24 hours.
I mean, it's going to be hard for her to breathe with that prison guard laying on her chest.
Oh man. After he's done raping her. Oh my God.
Jesus.
Well, speaking of hard to breathe, Bob, you recently had brought up a pretty funny little story about yeah, and I think we need to talk to the Stiffies about it. As everybody knows, Bob is a very courteous guy. He's been masking up in the N95 certified mask, I want to say since February, right? Before it was
it was early on, late February, early March. At the point where I was still a fucking weirdo in Sam's and Costco. And all that.
I actually remember it was a very early episode, but I actually remember calling you out and being like, "Pussy!"
Right.
I didn't see it coming yet, but you did. Good
so it's been months of me being in this mask, and I do most of the shopping. Got my routine down. So I'm in Walmart. After my Costco trip. So, you can't get everything at Costco. That's ridiculous. No one's got room for that.
Just the booze.
That's right. So I'm in Walmart and I'm trying to hurry because it's 100 fucking degrees and I've got, shit in the car. And so I'm trying to hurry through Walmart. And I'm a husky guy. So I'm already trying to sweating a little bit and running around. And I'm halfway through my shopping at Walmart, probably a good 15 minutes in. And, I feel a sneeze coming on, and instantly I just freeze. I'm like, dear God, no, what do you do? No,
you can't shut down a sneeze.
I can stop it. Close your eyes. Don't look at the light. Close your eyes. You can do this.
Concentrate.
And I thought I was going to get it. And then I felt the war of the sneeze, the battle of the sneeze, start going the other way.
The tides were turning.
The tides were turning. The fulcrum point was moving on me, and I couldn't handle it. And all of a sudden, I sneeze a powerful fucking dad sneeze. Achoo! And I'm in my mask, and I'm like, fuck me.
Oh
why does my sneeze smell so bad? So again, I've been battling getting over bronchitis and all that, as you all know. And so I'm kind of still have sinus issues from that. And it was unpleasant. And I'm a courteous guy, so I didn't take my mask off and wipe it all down. What's the point of all that if you're wearing a mask? So I just I just took it, everyone. I took it like a man.
Again, very much like he talks about how you have to deal with prison sex. You know, you just gotta. It might smell really bad. It might be awkward and uncomfortable, painful. Some would say, but you just gotta take it and power through, right? Until it's over.
So it was very terrible, everyone. If you haven't gone through it, please make every effort to not sneeze in your mask, because now I gotta like change the filters out, wash the mask. It's like still sitting down there on the wash machine. I don't want to touch it. It's terrible.
I think it's interesting when you mentioned it before. I was like, why? And I thought maybe something was just wrong with you. I was like, why does it smell so bad? But if you think about where the sneeze is coming from, it's from some pretty dark recesses of your fucking lungs and shit. That's just kind of probably festering there. And if you do have any kind of like, we'll say like some after effects still of the bronchitis and everything. You probably got some phlegminess in there too.
A little bit of sinus infection battling this whole time. Yeah. It was pretty bad.
So it does probably smell like prison sex a little bit too. God, man, that's horrible, huh?
I don't know. I'd have to get more facts to back that up. Never been in prison.
We'd have to ask Angel.
only had like role-playing prison sex. never had actual prison sex.
Let's try to keep it that way. It's be on the up and up, right? I'll tell you what, my friend. My goodness. Well, that's a rough one, Bob. I haven't done that yet. The closest thing that's happened to me that I thought was just funny, because I could swear I probably scared the shit out of these two elderly people, is like you were just saying, it's very fucking hot outside right now in both Denver and in Rio Rancho. What did I see?
104 yesterday.
104. It's like 100 here. You know, it's fucking crazy. My air conditioners are both broken now, so this is good times. But long short, I was going into the grocery store. This was a couple of weeks ago. I tend not to put my mask on until I get almost like right to the door, just from walking from my car in the parking lot with the mask on. I start, oh, Jesus Christ, it's hot as hell, you know? Anyways, and I have a thing, which I think is not an original thing, but especially if it's my first time outside for that day, it's sunny. And if I kind of look up a little bit, like the sun and the heat causes me to sneeze. Mm-hmm. It's always happened since I was a little kid. So I'm about to walk into the grocery store. These two very elderly people with masks on are coming out right next to me. And literally, I'm about to put my mask on. And right before I put it on, like, while it's in my hands, I'm like, like all over them. Like, they're like, ah. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And I put it on. I was like, I was kind of pointless. It was pretty funny. But probably had that, the old man's ticker probably jumped a little bit with that one. But hopefully they're okay.
Well, right.
You know,
you just killed a couple of old people, Scott.
And I'm laughing about it. Put me on the same plane with Ghislaine here. Jesus, they need to lock me up, man. But, well, tough stuff there. I do want to talk about something here. Could 2020 get any more comical to a certain extent here? I mean, I'm sure the Stiffies has heard it, but now Mr. Kanye West, well, as he says too, which I think he should be more of a Biden friend, because didn't he say he was the most influential and best recording artist of all time, like multiple times?
I thought he compared himself to Jesus at one point.
Well, he's better than Jesus, I believe, right? I mean, he could have turned that water, instead of just like cheesy boxed red wine, he would have turned that shit into Cavassier.
It was some Dom.
Okay, but anyways, so now it's Kanye 2020 for president here, and me and Bob were talking about this. I mean, the guy never surprises me with just some of the weird, outlandish, stupid shit that he does. Sometimes he does some stuff that's pretty good, you know, like, you know, philanthropy type deals, but he never seems to surprise me with just his antics. It's almost like, and I don't know if he's doing it for just the press. You don't think he would really need that, but I mean, with him being president, he can't even be on the ballot in a lot of states already. It's too late. I don't think there's been anybody trying to jump into the race this. We got like 100 and some days left. I mean, how many days to the election? So
yeah, it's like 3.5 months or something, right?
Yeah. So we've talked about this. I think we both have a little bit of a different idea about it. I don't know, but why do you think he's doing this? Like, really, why do you think Kanye just threw his name out there and said, I'm running?
So I got two reasons. First, I think he's dropping a new album. So there's that.
That's a great way to get some press on the new album. Oh, his record sales will soar too.
Yeah,
regardless if he gets any votes.
Right. Huh, so there's that free pub that he's going to get. And if he can get that pub by actually getting a little bit of fundraising, then that's kind of smart. Other than that, he is a Republican.
Which is, again, kind of strange to me, but okay, that's fine.
Hey, man, there are minority Republicans.
No, that's definitely not why it's strange to me. It's just his lifestyle, how he just doesn't seem to fit the mold of a conservative man.
No, he doesn't seem like a very God-fearing, pro-life kind of typical Republican mold, right? At all. In fact, just living in Hollywood and being a multimillionaire seems odd that he's a Republican in general. But he is. So there we go. Maybe, though, he's trying to throw Trump a bone. And Scott, that's President Trump. He's trying to throw him a bone and try to take some of that black vote away from Biden in some of the states that are, let's just call it what it is. I mean, they're now swing states down in the South. So Georgia is most likely going to be in that swing state territory and is going to be up for grabs, right? I think North Carolina's in the same boat. It's possible with Florida and the way things are going that they may be in that 5% margin of a swing state too. Like, so there are some states in the Bible Belt that might be up for grab. And if you took 30% of the black vote away from Democrats, then it might actually make a difference in some of those swing states. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's a little bit of coordination. I don't know. It seems too simple, right? It seems just too coordinated and simple that would actually just be the case. And I would think that would drastically underestimate black voters in the South.
Yeah, like, honestly, I don't know. I like that theory. I do like the theory, but like you just mentioned too, it seems too easy to figure out, and it seems too easy. Let's just face it. If Trump is reelected and people start seeing that this actually did kind of transpire the way you just said, like, well, hey, Biden would have won this state. However, the small percentage of votes in all these states that ended up going to Kanye West caused him to lose them all, or just take enough electoral votes away to, barely give Trump the edge, or another nail-biting election, right, where people are going to be so fucking pissed either way because there's so many people that want one person or just don't want the other person. So I could see them very quickly launching another investigation on, campaign corruption and fucking meddling with the election, and basically taking Kanye and Trump to court over it, right? And I see them having, if it turns out that way, I see it being not something that they're going to probably get convicted and charged with, but a goose chase that will last long enough to make the left's constituents feel very confident in what they're doing for them. Again,
maybe there's enough things going on with the country that might not make the list of priorities.
Well, who knows? We both know that COVID is going to be gone the day after the election, no matter what. So maybe it'll free up some time for to get
not
back.
In America. I think we're dealing with this like through next year, to be honest.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see. But no, that's interesting, man, because the other thing is I'm kind of thinking with what Biden said. So if you vote for Kanye and not Biden, do you still get stripped of your blackness? I was thinking about that. That's an interesting little conundrum. I'm not sure if that would work. Maybe it still would. Or if Kanye jumps in the race and causes Joe Biden to lose, does Biden strip Kanye of his blackness? Because he can do that.
I think by how Biden was meaning that, I think if you don't vote Democrat in 2020,
you're not
you
black.
Are stripped of your blackness.
Well, it's bold. It's an interesting strategy. We'll see how that one works out for him, Cotton. You know what I mean?
It didn't work out too well when he busted it out on with Charlemagne the God. So
yeah,
but immediately after, like, shit started hitting the fan, and that like immediately got out of the news cycle, which has been happening. A lot of things are just popping in and out of the news cycle. It's so unprecedented chaotic this year because we already have the whirlwind of chaos that surrounds Trump, right? And it's always been that way for President Trump. So I got to throw that out there. So when he was a businessman in New York, he encouraged chaos because in that chaos he could achieve success, right? So he'd start a bunch of lawsuits and he'd tie up a bunch of people, and then while things were going on, he'd start sneaking in business deals and working. He thrives in chaos.
It's a nice little smoke screen too, so you can do stuff behind the scene and not really have the radar on you. So it's a nice little, it's an interesting little tactic. Yeah.
Right, and he controls the news cycle, right? So just when people are outraged about something, there's something else to outrage them, and it gets them off of the last thing they're outraged. So if you can outrage everyone enough, then you don't know where to put your focus. And that's kind of been the MO for him most of his life. I mean, since the 70s, and he was like not letting minorities move in his apartments, he's just started a bunch of court cases, and so there's something to that. And I don't know if he's great at the art of the deal, but he is a master of the art of the news cycle. So I got to give him a lot of credit for that, because no one can quite control and spend that news cycle like he does. And it really has, kept everyone from being able to focus on anything in particular all the time.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks, but this is probably the second time since I've known Bob that he's given credit to President Trump. So that's interesting. Turning a new leaf, aren't you? Look, you're drinking gin all the time, and now you're giving President Trump credit, even if it's credit about being deceitful and untrustworthy. But hey, it's all good stuff. And Stiffies, by the way, I got to let everybody know why we're kind of highlighting President Trump is. I was reading some stuff here from the New York Times, and I've been hearing this for ever since Trump became president. And there was that whole hashtag not my president kind of deal going on for a while, but there's always been the reluctance of the left media to refer to Donald Trump as President Trump. It's always Mr. Trump. It seems that they like to call him Mr. Trump, and I've never heard that. You did mention before that Fox would say sometimes Obama, but they would never say Mr. Obama, right? No, that just sounds kind of weird. It sounds strange. I've never heard people say Mr. Clinton, Mr. Bush, even though I think Mr. Bush is kind of a funny name. So just if you can imagine that. But and I don't know why they continue to do it. My opinion here is they just want to discredit the man and not give him the title that he did win, and whether he deserves it or not is up for debate. But from now on, just because I'm a proud American, regardless of who the fucking president is, I'm going to make sure that I always put that president before the name. So,
or at least make a concerted effort, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've made it pretty clear on this show that I think as a person he's less than stellar, but he is the president, and I respect the hell out of that office and flag, and God bless America shit. And so, it is.
that almost sounded like just something Joe Biden would say. Is like, we the people, you know that shit I'm talking about.
So, in the end, it is President Trump. It was President Bush. It is President Obama. It's the president.
And they still call all the former presidents. Sometimes they don't even say former. They say President Clinton and President Bush are working together on this, or President. Who's the guy from Georgia? I'm drawing a blank here all of a sudden. Peanut farmer. Come on, help me out. Everything else about him.
Carter?
Yeah, there we go. Jimmy Carter. Yeah, but even presidents that are on they're on death's door, they're still referred to as president, what have you, or former president. So it's just interesting to me because it seems to discredit, and I think it's meant to be disrespectful to the man. So,
well, and it is, and I think it's also kind of a subliminal knock, right? Of like, let's just keep mentioning this and never quite acknowledge that, it's president. And it's just kind of one of those mental chip away things at people. Now I do have something that aren't in the notes, so I'm just going to throw this up there.
Holy shit! He's throwing a fucking curveball here.
I know.
I don't ad lib. I can't do this.
I wanted to bring up someone near and dear to our hearts on this show, and that's Taint motherfucking Reeves.
Woo! How you doing, Taint baby?
It's been so long since we've mentioned that name in the show, and it's our favorite governor, at least our favorite name for our governor, Tate Reeves. We call him the Taint Reeves. Mm-hmm. He's governor of Mississippi. Literally said that you could pray the coronavirus away.
That treatment turned out not to work so well, just as an update, Stiffies.
So pushing no masks, pushing a super far right agenda on this, and just totally not believing it'll work. God's got us covered. If that's your case, I just want to say that God made masks, but that's
sure,
neither here nor there. So Tate Reeves and his state senate all got together. No social distancing, no mask, because God will help, and he'll take care of us. 26 of those senators are now confirmed to have coronavirus.
No shit.
That's 26 weird. Of the state senators out of, I presume, probably 50 or so, all have it. And now he got on and said, I'm thinking about mandating masks.
Well, hey, some people just have to learn the lessons the hard way. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, this was maybe God speaking to Taint and saying, dude, you don't really get what I'm able to do in these kind of situations. You got to kind of use things, that make sense and follow the science. I know that not everybody that, believes in God follows a lot of science, but
I will say this. God created science.
Did he though, or did the devil? Because it seems like it's the devil's work.
I'm just gonna say, I thought he was called the creator. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Anyway, not to stray too far into that, I just always find a funny argument that God will provide, and then people say that they're not going to do something that's out here in the world, but then wouldn't one say that but God has provided that? I don't know. It must be awfully nice to always have that freedom of never being wrong, because if something bad happens, God works in mysterious ways. But if something good happens, it's God's will. So that's a very powerful thing to never be wrong. But in this case, Taint wants masks. So we will keep an eye on that as the story evolves and gets into that. But it's kind of the not my backyard theory, right? It's easy to not acknowledge something when it's happening to other people, but when it's directly happening to you and it's people that you shake fucking hands with, then it's a little bit different.
Another quick one here, and then I think we're gonna get lubricated, my friend. You know what I mean? But another quick one too is the mayor. I can't remember her name, but the mayor of Seattle, right? That said that the CHOP district, the autonomous zone. If everybody's not familiar, I'm sure you guys have seen it on the news. It's let them do whatever they want. It's going to be the summer of love, here in this area is what she's quoted saying. There was many people that were shot, some of them young kids, nothing really, from her end, no mandates, no executive orders. Then guess what happened? The mob went to her house, and that's when she had to shut it down, right? So
now it's gone.
Yeah, as soon as there was protesters and rioters at her front door calling her out and basically scaring the shit out of her, like, I don't know, they were doing to everybody else outside and in and around that autonomous zone. It took about, I want to say an hour or two for the police to come in and just fucking tear that place down.
Yeah, and I can say too, it's no mayor wants to make that call, because if it goes south when you're eradicating your own citizens from that district, and no one wants to have that memory of the Bloody Sunday, right? No one wants that this happened under you, right?
That's one of my favorite U2 songs, just so you know.
For real, but that's the thing that they were trying to avoid up there is an incident that lives on in infamy, right, of killing their own citizens. But there comes a point in time where you're like, enough is enough. Are you fucking American or are you not? You have to get on board or fucking move out at some point. I mean, we are Americans, so we do have laws. If you don't want to follow those laws, you can't just choose not to follow the laws anymore. And
this is true.
That they try to do that in 1865, and it didn't work out very well. Just gonna throw in that little tidbit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And of course, and they have the flag that supports my entire and history and ancestry. You know what I mean? But yeah, let's not talk about that. I think that's for another show, my friend. But I'm ready to rock and roll. I got no air in the house. I need to get lubricated here. You ready to go get a stiff drink?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, buddy.
Cheers, Scotty.
Oh, cheers all the way. Cheers to your tits.
Cheers for fears.
Oh, it's a great band.
Cheers for beers.
Cheers. Recline that thing all the way back. Pour yourself a nice little bottle of bubbly.
Hey there.
Hey there.
Sorry it took so long, dude. I had to make 3 of these bad boys.
Well, Bob, you didn't have to, but it's okay.
But aren't you glad you did?
Yeah. Well, I made a couple just because they're a little bit on the stronger side, and let's just get right into it right here. I mean, this has probably become my favorite part of research for the show. Is not only, and I jest, obviously, of course, I love drinking, but it is fun, isn't it? Not only to make drinks from scratch, because I had a big. By the way, everybody, we're doing Mai Tais today. But I almost want to buy when it gets complex, or when I start seeing, I was like, oh, Jesus, I got to buy 4 different bottles of booze, a liqueur, a fucking mixer, a fucking different type of simple syrup made from almonds. You just want to go with the mixed one that's already pre-made. I was like,
oh, man, I saw it for $5 too. I was like, I could pick up some Bacardi in that mix and I'm done.
Boom, bam.
We can't do that.
We can't do that. We now have to really make sure these are legit, original recipe, get the right stuff. And God damn it, I'll tell you what, those pre-made ones, they're not bad, but it's like a Band-Aid for the real thing. You know what I mean?
Hangover City too, so
yeah, and it's usually this loaded with fucking high fructose corn syrup and all kinds of other things that just are not in the legit drink. So having the Mai Tai. Oh, dude, check this one out. Wait, hold on, I gotta hold it this way. It's got the I got the mint in there too.
That's just a pretty drink. So woo. If you guys are wondering why, bottoms up, buddy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you guys are wondering why our drinks look so much different, it's because we actually have 2 different recipes going. Scott's got a more traditional, old school recipe, and I've got a newer recipe. They're both, chock full of rum and everything. I've got the sacrilege going with mine because I have pineapple juice and orange juice in mine. But we just kind of both took a different approach to our Mai Tais. We'll put both recipes up on the website so you guys can have them both. They're both super delicious. And, they've got as much rum as you dare to put in them. So
yes, they do. And to expand on that a little bit, it was enlightening to me, to say the least, because without, again, ever even looking up how to make a Mai Tai. I mean, that's the other thing that's fun too about the show, is we're looking up like, how do you make this fucking drink? Wow, I never knew that much went into it, right? Or the different types of things that are in there. But I've ordered many of Mai Tais at restaurants and bars. I used to do it a lot. There's this little Chinese restaurant near to where I used to work in Indianapolis. But long short, I could swear there was always at least pineapple juice, sometimes pineapple and orange in every Mai Tai I had. And I thought it was something as simple as a couple different types of rum, like a light rum, dark rum, spiced rum. I had no fucking clue. And then just top the rest off almost like a highball drink, right? Just top the rest off with pineapple juice and call it a fucking day. That's not the case at all, which is very interesting. Even if correct me if I'm wrong, but walking through your recipe there, you've got coconut rum, you've got spiced rum,
coconut rum, spiced rum,
pineapple
juice, orange juice, and grenadine.
That's literally none of that shit is in the way I made it, which it was funny because I was literally going to the liquor store yesterday. I was talking to Bob on the phone saying, and it was funny because I was actually calling him to say, I'm going to the liquor store. He's like, I'm at the liquor store too. Get it? I was like, oh, how convenient is that? But I was like, I don't know what and I was saying, I don't know what to get. I don't know what half this shit is. I don't even know how to pronounce some of this shit, And he's like, well, here, check out the recipe I'm getting. And I look at it, I go in the store and I'm like, okay, that seems way more basic. I just grab the Malibu. I grab some, some Captain, fucking pineapple juices in the back, get a little fucking can of that shit, call it a day. And literally, my fucking pretentious ass reads the comments on the recipe. And the first one's like, amazingly refreshing drink. I felt like I was out on the beach. And that's kind of what I got from the way you made it and why that recipe is even there. It seems more like hey, it's 110 degrees outside. I'm at the beach. This is really refreshing. And if I have a few of them, I'm not going to be like, my dick's not going to be in the dirt like fucking.
Yeah. And it's shaken, so it's frothy. Right?
Yeah. So, but then I read the second review. And it's got no stars, and the guy and almost has half of it in all caps, which is pretty funny. He's like, everything is wrong about this drink. Where do I start? Never have coconut rum. Never have this. You never put pineapple. And I was like, holy shit! I was like, what's this guy talking about? So I toggle back to my recipe, and that's when I learned, the history of the drink, right? And now there seems to be 3 main ways of making it. So mine, flip side, is, and you're going to have to help me with this fucking word again. It's an island. I always
orange curacao.
Curacao. I want to say
curacao, something like that.
I want to say cacao or some shit like that. But yeah, mine's got, again, totally different. Instead of coconut rum or spice rum, mine's got white rum, Bacardi. And then I've got a black rum, or AKA a dark rum. So it's got majority 1.5 ounces of the white rum, and then it has the shit you just mentioned. Where is it?
The blue curacao, and then
the orange curacao, and then it's got also lime juice, and then orgeat syrup, which is basically a form of simple syrup that's almond based. So it's an almond simple syrup. It's actually pretty cool. So I'm reading all this shit in the store too. I get this kind of paralysis about making decisions sometimes, especially when there's things that are so similar. And I'm reading because I couldn't find something. I was like, well, you can substitute one of these for triple sec. I was like, well, I got triple sec at the house. And it's like, and you don't really need this almond flavored one. You can just have regular simple syrup. And then like a little asterisk underneath. However, it will slightly change the taste of the drink. I was like, I can't do that. I can't fuck up the integrity of the drink. So I had to get all this shit legit. And I'll tell you what, when I was throwing it together, I was like, I don't know how this is going to fucking taste. It's rum, and then fucking some weird sugary shit, some lime juice, lime wedge, some mint in there. It's fucking phenomenal. But
does it taste similar to the pineapple orange one that you used to order at the, or is it a completely different taste?
It's a different taste. The only thing that I will say that it's similar is you've got the elements of rum flavoring, and because there is citrus in there with lime juice, you still have a little bit of that. And it's still a very refreshing drink. But I cannot see myself pounding 5 or 6 of these without getting a little sloppy, because they're just more concentrated. But it's fantastic. The way you make it is you have everything in the shaker except the dark rum. And then you pour the dark rum on a spoon, very similar to the New York Sour. So you have that kind of layer that stays on the top. So very interesting, very refreshing drink. And then of course, trying to figure out like what to get. I was like, do I go with the OG one? And then I started reading about the history. So everybody knows this was probably not what people would imagine. I mean, Bob, out of the gate, just Mai Tais. Where do you think they would be created?
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii, Tahiti.
Well, right? It's rum, so maybe the Caribbean.
I mean, Caribbean, Jamaica, right? Yeah. Something like that. Maybe even somewhere like the Philippines. I don't know. It's just like I would have all these ideas. Thailand. Yeah, sure. Whatever, right? They got lady boys for sale there. Why not, right? So, but no, interesting. Okay. Pedophilia, lady boys. I gotta tighten this up for the rest of the show, Bob. But no, it was invented in there's a debate here. 1933 by a man named Don Beach. That's who claims, but where they're giving the credit to is 1944. Man, Victor,
Joe Biden?
No.
So, okay.
He almost made this one, but they discredited that one. This is the one thing that he didn't invent. But this one is, let's see, it's called the Trader Vic. This guy owns like a chain of restaurants and bars for a very long time. I don't believe he's alive anymore. But his name's Victor J. Bergeron. And the recipe that I made is the original Trader Vic recipe. So that's why I decided to go with that one. I was like, okay, this is what they are literally saying. The guy that giving the credit for inventing it, I got to go with this one. Let's try it out. And Bob, I knew you were going to make yours way so that we could like say, hey, like we were talking about, there's more than one way to make a Mai Tai, right? So that's going to
be. That's right. That's a new stiff truth-ism.
Yeah.
There's more than one way to Mai Tai.
There's more. Yeah. More. Yeah. What's the original saying?
Skin a cat.
Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat, which is weird because
we don't date our sisters, so make a Mai Tai.
Date our sisters. I mean, live in Mississippi. I mean, whatever. No. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So that was it's very interesting there. And then what's cool about the Mai Tai too is where it was made. I would have never guessed that it comes from Oakland, California.
Huh.
Fucking weird, right? And the drink became wildly popular in the 50s and 60s. That's when it kind of just blew up, which kind of makes sense because you think about the old James Bond movies, the old stuff. They really had a time, and rightfully so, kind of like they did in the 80s with Australians. They glorified like the Hawaiian Islands and the kind of the tiki lifestyle, you know, and the drinks like the Mai Tai and the zombie became super, super popular. Tiki themed restaurants became really, really big in the 50s and 60s. Just like, you remember the Crocodile Dundee era, right? Everybody wanted to fucking be Australian in like the mid 80s and stuff like that. So same kind of craze, but interesting how it blew up so much. But that's your background on it. And again, one of the reasons too, just one more little tidbit for you guys here, and this will make sense because it has up to 3 different types of rum if you go with one of the recipes. The reason why old Vic here made this was to showcase the quality and the great taste of very top shelf rums. So there you go.
Did he make his own at his establishment?
I believe he did.
That would have made sense.
Oh,
so part of me, I'm also eating my pineapple because I garnish it in pineapple because I can't get enough of pineapple.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I really got a lot of that off memory just from reading the couple of articles about it. I'm checking out right now a little bit of stuff. I was like, got that right. It was also a featured, it was the predominant drink in, I've never seen this movie, Blue Hawaii, an Elvis Presley movie in the 1950s or 60s there. So interesting, man.
Well, I can tell you this. Me and my wife dig them. So it was 104 yesterday. We've got the canopies up. We're in the pool. Loving it. Umbrellas up. We got our Mai Tais. Fantastic drink. So only thing we were missing was the beach, but we did have the sand. So we got that going.
You got the sand and you got the water. It's close enough, right? And you got the booze. You have a few more Mai Tais. You can act like you're at the beach. So
for COVID times, we did okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I saw that picture you sent me, you fucking jackass. I'll tell you that right now. I got like a little kiddie pool in my backyard. That's okay. Someday they'll be back in stock, right? Just like COVID will go away someday. Someday they'll have pools. I'm sure it'll be in the dead of winter when they have pools available to buy it at a reasonable price. But,
well, you know, just keep your eye out and be diligent.
Oh, he's keeping me grounded.
It'll work out for you. Just stay positive. And keep your eye on Academy Sports.
Always with the prison sex references, you know. Stay positive.
Oh, I thought it was a Ghislaine Maxwell reference.
Oh, Ghislaine.
She's in jail, but you know who's not? Roger Stone.
Interesting. That is very true. And you know what? The guy, I get it, right? I mean, how nervous can you be? He's 68 years old, 67, 68-year-old. He was facing a wild sentence of 40 months, which last time I checked, that's
like a year and a half with good time.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then maybe, you know, take it down to 20 months or something like that. And it was interesting. We decided to talk about this. And then, of course, we did last time with Epstein and stuff too. Something happened. So now we've got Mr. President Donald J. Trump, who has commuted his sentence, which basically, if anybody doesn't know what that means, it doesn't mean that he's not being charged and he won't be convicted. In fact, he probably still very much will. It's just going to be.
He already has been convicted.
Yeah. So it's not like he's, you know, pardoning him or something like that. It's a totally different thing. But what Trump, as the president, has the power to do, and Trump's done this to other people. This is the first time he's done it to somebody so close to him. And like he's known for a really long time. I think he met him in the late 70s and was like introduced, I think through an attorney or something like that. Imagine that, Trump having attorneys.
That's President Trump.
Yeah, right. I like that. Keeping me honest, baby. Keeping me honest. But no, I thought it was really interesting because basically it just means that his sentencing is going to be even lighter now. And if you guys don't know, the big thing from his point of view is He is 67, 68. I don't believe I read anything about him having respiratory conditions or pre-existing conditions, but he's extremely fearful to go to jail and get COVID-19 and die.
Or just extremely fearful to go to jail.
I think the latter makes more sense. I think he's, I don't think he wants to bite down on the pillow and just let it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the funny thing is he released this statement to the press saying, if I go to jail, it's basically a death sentence at my age. And I'm like, you're 68. It's 40 months. Good time is like halftime. So it's really 20 months. And so you think you're going to die in the next 20 months?
Yeah,
that's pretty pessimistic.
It's essentially what 40 months is like fucking 3.5 years or something like that. Yeah, seriously, it's like not even 3.5 years. So if you literally think, hey man, I'm 68, it's like, well, I'm out of here at 71. I know that shit. I'm out of here. It's like I'm not going to make it to that. And you're right too. There's with somebody like this, with he's already getting preferential and special treatment throughout this entire process at the directive of Trump and his administration. I already know whatever he's going to get now, because I have a feeling the sentence is going to be even lower, and he's going to get off on good behavior and call it 18 months, fucking 14 months. Yeah. It's a drop in the bucket. But this guy's a real piece of work, though. I'll tell you that. I mean, not for what he's really famed for right now is obviously being involved with tampering with evidence and all this stuff, and basically trying to hide the Russian collusion and just cover that up and just make sure that Trump can't get incriminated and all that good stuff. But he's a lifetime piece of shit kind of politician and lobbyist too, which I thought was pretty interesting, which we talked about earlier. I couldn't believe that this man really has, which would be really fun for the guy butt raping him in jail, to look at that tattoo that he has on his back of Richard Nixon's face.
This guy's just like, oh yeah, I love the GOP.
I don't know. Maybe the raper would be a little bit perplexed and be standoffish after
some
that.
Guy's standing behind bent over Roger Stone, like I'm not a crook.
Well, he starts out. This guy starts out working for Nixon during Watergate and everything too. And then he also worked for Reagan. He met Trump in the late 70s. He worked with Trump in the 90s with what they call his first failed attempt to be in politics. Apparently something prevented him from doing that. And then all the way to this day, right? I mean, up until about 2015 or 16 like that, he had been highly involved with politicians, and it doesn't always seem to be in the right way.
I can tell you this. I've worked for a lot of bosses. Some of them are really good and endearing bosses to me. I would never tattoo one of my bosses in between my shoulder blades. What kind of a relationship is that? Like,
or did he? Because maybe they were really close. Maybe Nixon requested that so he could look at himself every time he was having sex with the man.
You never know. You never know.
Allegedly,
that is pure speculative conjecture on this show, which we are known to throw out there from time to time. So, the Roger Stone sentence it's really interesting because we all know the president has carte blanche pardon and commuting sentencing power.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who or why or really what the fuck. He can do whatever he wants in that respect, and it's legal.
Yeah, and everybody's done it. Every president's done it, and some people have said each one could be questionable from one lane or the other, right? Like, I don't know if they really should have done that, but anyway.
None of them have been, like, lifelong pals, and they try to keep it not being personal like that. So, but again, Donald Trump does keep most of his shit out in the open. Right. He doesn't sneak around when he does some questionable and unethical shit. He does it right in front of everyone. So we all know the unethical shit that he does. It's out there. So at least he's got that going for him. So maybe he is a Washington outsider. He does this unethical thing to your face.
Yeah. This is very, very, very. Yeah. No, it's all over the place, man. But
so Roger Stone is not, old enough that he's going to have a death sentence from 18 months. But you did have an encounter with an elderly statesman of America.
I did.
You told me that story the other day. Something about like an old lady trying to run you over.
Something like that. I'll explain this to you because if people can't tell already, I can be a little bit of a hothead. I sometimes fly off the handle, whether it's a serious thing or if I just chip my toenail. I don't know what can set me off, Bob, but I'll tell you what happened is I was going to get my emission tested. And just like everything with COVID, the emission testing places are completely fucking overloaded and super busy because half of them are closed down in the city and blah, 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 less staff and all this shit. So it's a good 90-minute wait. And you have to wait in this very long line that pretty much starts as soon as you pull into the parking lot, right? So you're basically almost got your ass end in the road. Long story short, though, it's one of those things where you pull up in this line and go ahead and put the car in park because you're going to be there for a little while, right? So I pull up. I'm like, okay, look, the lines don't look that long or what have you. I pull right behind, and I've got it still like that good car length or so, because we're at a dead stop. It's not like I'm on the freeway or anything. Got a good car length, and there's a nice big Ford F-150 with a beautiful tow hitch, staring at me in the face. And
did it have balls hanging from it?
It did not. It did not. Okay. So it might have been a lady. It might have been a lady. It might have been a lady tow hitch. I'm not sure what's going on here. But long short, I go ahead and I do that. I pull up. I'm actually, because I do this, I'm listening to the last show of ours because I was finishing it up on Spotify, and I look up.
Do it too.
Yeah. we're some sorry set of tits, I'll tell you that. But no, and this lady in the truck literally just puts her car in reverse and just fucking slams into the front end of my car with her tow hitch.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. So right when that happened, the line started to move. So she just started to progress, and I get out of my car completely irate, and she's starting to get out of her car. I could tell that she's an elderly woman now. I had no idea what the fuck was going on before.
How could you tell? Because she was old?
She was very old, and yeah, it was just something that I couldn't see from just the car's
now
dash.
When you say old, was she old like normal old, or was she like Happy Gilmore's grandma old?
I was just gonna say, I don't know if it's the same lady or not, but the old lady that sings "Rapper's Delight" on the Wedding Singer.
Yeah,
we're talking that kind of old. Okay.
Wow, that's impressive. Good for her. Driving a truck too.
Yeah, driving her husband's truck or something, or work truck. It was a 2002, so it wasn't like a new one or anything. But anyways, she gets out and she starts saying, "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And
well, that's sweet of her.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, but my fucking car's not. I was like, what are you doing backing up in a line? It's literally like being, and so I told her, it's like being at the drive-thru at McDonald's and deciding you're going to go ahead and back up in the car behind you. I was like, what are you doing? And she literally, and this is where I started to feel bad because she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm already kind of yelling at her and pointing at her, what's your fucking deal? She's like, I'm an old lady. I should be at home right now. I shouldn't be driving. I hardly ever drive this. And I was like, well, what the fuck were you doing backing up? In a stagnant line with cars behind me and cars in front of you. What was the plan there? You know what I mean? And she's like, I wasn't sure if I was in the right place. I was like, oh, you mean where it says emission testing with a fucking arrow going right ahead of us? Yeah. Let's go ahead and back up. So then,
you're so compassionate to our elderly community. That's great.
And then I do realize that I'm making this lady feel really bad. So I immediately kind of pull it back, because she just keeps saying, I'm so sorry. And she's kind of almost even shaking and stuff while she's getting her information. And that's when I just completely tone it down. And I'm like, hey, it was done is done. Sorry, I get a little worked up. It was just extremely, and I'm still kind of layering in some sarcasm too. It was just extremely surprising for me to have somebody back up into me while we were parked in a line.
I wasn't expecting to be in the center of monster truck madness today.
And the thing is, I'm not sure if you've seen the car that I drive, but I drive a 2008 very low to the ground Subaru Impreza hatchback, right? So with her car, the tow hitch literally is at the top of my hood.
So did it leave a nice little dent and crease in your hood?
Well, it didn't get up to the hood, thankfully so. Like her truck wasn't really jacked up or anything like that. But what it did is, my fender and bumper and everything, a lot of cars have this, right? Like it looks like a metal grill, but it's really just plastic, So the tow hitch literally just punched through that entire thing, and had my bumpers kind of like popped off like a little bit. And luckily it did not like go as far as to hit the radiator or anything like that, or my car would be really fucked. It was still drivable, but my car is even more of a shit box now. And that's what happened, man. The other thing that was really unsettling too, and where I felt like a real asshole, is here I am yelling at this lady, calling her out, and well, we still had to go through the line, right? So it's kind of funny because how it was working is we were in a single line, and then some guy would tell you, hey, slap a sticker on there, how many miles you have in your car, like one of the attendants. He's like, you had to go to lane 4. There was like 5 lanes. So after you get past a certain point, people start branching out into their lanes. So literally for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm fucking in the car like, what the fuck, man? I can just still like trying to process what just happened. I was like, I can't believe this shit happened. And while that happens, she is literally, I'm in lane 3, she's in lane 4. So there's a long period of time to we are fucking right next to each other as we fucking keep, just slowly snailing our way to the line. And every now and again, I'm just like looking at her like, fucking stupid old lady. So, but whatever. Hey, she didn't go back on her word though. She did say, hey, I'm so sorry. As soon as I get out of here, I'm going to call my insurance company. It was my fault. I was like, goddamn right it was, because how she could have fought that when somebody gets like rear-ended.
She could have said you hit her.
Exactly. And I'm an old lady. All of a sudden this guy hit me out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden it's my liability. So she was a nice old lady. I do need to learn.
Thank you, emissions old lady.
Yeah. I'm not going to name her name. I do know her name, but yeah.
It's like Ethel or Bethany.
Funny enough, it's actually Janet, but it's a close enough. But no, lesson learned. Don't put your car in park in a line of cars, even if you think you're gonna be there for a while. But honestly, if I would have had my car and drive, it would have
just reversed into someone else.
Exactly.
Where would you have gone?
And that's the reason when I saw it coming, and I was like, I can throw this in the reverse right now. And I look behind me, like, I was like, no, there's 2 cars behind me already. I'm not going to create a domino effect where I am responsible, right?
Yeah. No, you did. Sometimes you just got to hit your brake and hope for the best.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to brace for the impact, right? And so we talking about prison sex again, but yeah, no.
Maybe grab the bars.
Lesson learned. I need to cool it down, but that was a good story. It was fun.
Cool it down. No pun intended, right?
Jesus, I just look. It's 87 upstairs now.
You're glowing like a pregnant woman. You're glowing. I imagine that's a tidbit of perspiration on your brow.
It's a tidbit, but
our makeup lady's off today for COVID, so we're on our own.
Yeah, well, she's quarantined right now because she did test positive. Or no, her family member did.
So I do want to know that when all the Stiffies to know, a little impromptu. By the time we hit our next show, I will be 40 years old. Woo! Turning 40 this week.
Woo! Happy early birthday,
about that,
Bob. Happy early birthday.
Old as fuck, and I'm going to spend it with no friends because of COVID. And I don't have any friends.
It sounded really sad for a minute there, Bob. I'm sorry about that, bud.
So we should probably move on to our conspiracy theory section.
Ooh, yes, we should.
Conspiracy theory.
We'll try to upgrade that in later shows, but
I've been busy with school, guys. Work with me.
Yes, the conspiracy segment. This is a real fun one for researching too. It's just there's so many, Bob. Right? There's so many. But do you want to go ahead and let everybody know?
This is why we added this segment to the show, because everyone loves a good conspiracy theory, and we have unlimited content. Not that we have any problem creating content, because bloviating and talking out of our ass is actually a specialty. So
we take that very
seriously. Today we're going to talk about the DIA, not to be confused with the DEA. That was last week.
I think it was the week before, but
week before.
Point taken. Going
to the DIA, and that is the Denver International Airport.
Dun. The alien overlords. The Illuminati, the New World Order.
So if you look behind me, not only do you see a huge set of balls in that horse, but
he's gifted.
That horse, which is the Blue Mustang, but has gotten the moniker from the local Denver Knights of Blucifer because it just looks so fucking evil. Why does a horse have to be blue and have so many damn veins? That is just strange that it's so veiny.
And why? That's what she said. But that was horrible. But and why too? I know there's probably a lot of people that aren't watching the YouTube video, which is fine. But the other thing is, and you could look this up online if you just look up Blucifer. It's all over the place. The thing has fucking piercing, bright red fucking eyes too. Now I don't know about you, Bob, but I've never seen a blue Mustang one, but I've never seen a horse with red eyes that seem to be glowing like the statues from Neverending Story.
Yeah, it's very strange that we're going to have this 32-foot tall, by the way. So 3-story building size Mustang with glowing fucking red eyes. So this thing is wired. And where does the wire go? It has to go like up his legs and torso and all the way to its head on the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how else would it be there? So this thing is wired up and has some bright ass, I would presume, LEDs at this point. Weird lit up horse. It's a blue horse that's standing on its hind legs, super veiny, huge cock and balls just laying out there for everyone, bright red eyes, lit up with ground lights shining on it. It's right in front of the Denver airport, so it's very ominous looking. So the guy that actually made this sculpture, I forget his name, and
it's Luis Jimenez.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So while he was making this, a piece of, or the horse itself, the statue fell over on him when he was almost done completing it, and it cut his femoral artery in his leg, and he fucking died making this damn horse. So
apparently it was just a chunk of it that fell directly on him while he was making it, and later on they had to have like a team of people finish it or something like that. But yeah, can't believe that too. Not like it's knocked him on the head; it severed his artery. Let's call it like the main artery, right? So it's like holy shit. So there's that.
Yeah, that's like the Hannibal Lecter artery there, right? So this horse started off with just complete, lore around it of, being a murderous, statue. And then the conspiracy theory behind it is that it represents the fourth horse bringing the apocalypse, which I think the fourth horse is death. Mm-hmm. Right to all, so
which is a great thing to have in front of an airport, especially if you're a little nervous about flying, right? You want to see a horse that's scary and make it be symbolized one of the four horsemen of death, right, of the end of the world, the apocalypse. So interesting.
And it's not something that the Denver International Airport is oblivious to. There has been several ominous statues and meanings of death on this airport. I mean, it was built with a huge statue of Anubis sitting in there, like literally meaning come to our airport and travel to your death. Like that's how you can perceive that statue there. That's how the Egyptians used it.
Yeah, and I don't want everybody to, I don't want to think like all the Stiffies are ignorant or anything like that. But if you don't know, the ominous thing about that is Anubis is the Egyptian god of death, and basically would give you safe travel to the afterlife, right, to the realm of the dead. So they tried to say that, oh no, he's the god of travel. No, he's not. He's the god of death. So again, interestingly enough, it was there, and then so many years ago they removed it. So I guess there was finally enough people that did complain about that. The other interesting about Blucifer there, that guy, he's got a nice package on him, doesn't he?
For real.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. But the other really interesting thing to me, I was talking about this with Jamie yesterday too, is, okay, why a fucking Mustang? We're known for Broncos here, not fucking Mustangs. So why even have a horse that doesn't represent anything about Denver? So that's just odd to me too, why they picked a blue Mustang instead of a Bronco. So there's that too. It's a creepy fucking thing. But I think one of the more just interesting conspiracies at the Denver airport, the murals are great. One of them's behind me that they have they've removed. There's two murals that have both a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions, a lot of conspiracies behind them. And I think one of the other ones, we'll get into like the underground layers and stuff like that, but the time capsule and basically the commemorative plaque of who built this in 1994 is in one of the terminals. And that one glares because it does have a Freemason symbol on it. They did admit that a couple of very well-to-do Freemasons were helping fund the building of it. And it also says on the plaque, the New World Airport something or other commission, which is not a real commission. It's not a real commission. There's nothing paid up. So
made up entity.
So anybody thinking that it could have anything to do with the New World Order, they kind of just gave a little bit of a clue there where it kind of makes it like, okay, that's fucking strange. But I don't know. There's some other things we could talk about, a lot more things here. But what strikes you to be probably, I guess, the most either outrageous or the one that maybe has the most validity behind it? What do you think?
The thing that strikes me is that it went over schedule by 18 months and over budget by $2 billion, which is double the budget. So you can go over budget, but how many projects go double the budget? How many multi-billion-dollar projects ends up costing twice that? Like, you already know that what you're looking at, and you're looking at your drawing, and you're looking at the material to make it, and you're looking at the labor hours, and you're looking at all that, and time and material and labor and all that. So how the fuck can you be off by $2 billion? So then there's a bunch of structures underneath the airport. There's 4 shore different levels. There's 4 shore tunnel systems, abandoned tunnel systems, allegedly incomplete tunnel systems. Builders have said that the project took longer because they actually built several story underground level buildings in there. Like, we're talking 6 to 10 story buildings down there, and none of that can either be substantiated. And I don't know why. They don't let anyone just go down there with a camera.
Oh, you got to go down there with a guide, and it's always just let's call it the superficial level of the basement, right? It's always, I've seen it time and time again on all the videos I've watched, is, they've got somebody laughing it off that's going to show them, like, no, there's no aliens down here. There's no Illuminati down here. There's no reptilian overlords. There's even supposed to be another conspiracy, is that there's a FEMA concentration camp ready to go for when the New World Order takes over, so they can start fucking putting people down there. But they always just go to where the baggage claim carts drive around. That makes sense. That makes sense that there is something underground. And the other thing, like you said too, $2 billion over budget. One of the reasons that they have all this underground systems, as well as they had this at the time, what they called like the high-tech automated baggage claim system. But not only was it never completed because it was too expensive, which, again, too expensive. So hold on, you just pulled an extra $2 billion out of here. Where did that fucking go if you didn't finish this really expensive thing? But it didn't even work right. It would like drop bags off the carousels and all this shit. So it's completely incomplete. And then one of the biggest things that really struck me is the one guy that did actually point this out, when the tour guide took him down to that level, the floor reads floor 3. And it's supposed to be the basement floor. And he asked her, hey, why is this floor 3? Where are floors 2 and 1? She's like, there isn't any. And you're like,
Right.
Yeah. So I'm
no Andrew Lang, but
usually when I start the sequence with 0 or 1 and build from that. But sure, let's just go with 3, right? So,
and again, honestly, usually in large structures like that, you have B2, B1, and before you even have level 1.
Exactly. So that really does bode towards giving that kind of part of the conspiracy a lot of credit there. And again, what it's used for could be completely blown out of proportion. I've heard that it's bunkers for the elite, right? For if we're like, we have like an atomic bombing kind of stuff like that, or presidential bunkers, or just this kind of shit. Other people say that there's like a satanic temple down there, and all these really elite satanic people go down there and perform fucking crazy shit. That one I don't really buy at all.
It's an adrenochrome factory.
Yeah, sure.
Just gonna throw that out there.
And then the other one too is that it's literally like a secret military base similar to Area 51, where they have aliens down there that they're working on and shit like that as well. But it is very interesting that they're more than happy to show you the 3rd floor, but the other ones don't exist.
Well, and also the architect, right, says that it was a real bummer that it went over budget, and it ended up being finished and with different architects because they ran across problems from the original design and all that. Mm-hmm. And he also said that the whole plan from the beginning was to create a lure to this airport with conspiracy theories. So from the beginning, they've wanted to troll the world. Right now, is that to normalize things to make it easier to hide in plain sight? Maybe that's part of the conspiracy theory, but definitely the part just about creating some of this wild art, because it does have to be approved by the mayor and like this board of the airport before it ever goes up. It's not like they're just randomly throwing artists up there. So it's very well thought out, but each individual art exhibit and piece that goes on there, or weird gargoyles and shit that they have, it's all by design and it's all to create a lure. Now, having said that, if I have to go on a flight to wherever and I've got a choice between DIA or Chicago or O'Hare, I'm going to go Denver International to go check it out. I'm just gonna. And so to that aspect, it works. So the plan works. It is actually a tourist destination, and people will specifically go to the Denver airport just to see it.
They've got a whole crew that works there that are just tour guides to show people around and debunk the conspiracies, but kind of play along with it. You know what I mean? So, and that's an interesting thing that you bring up there, because one, it could just be a very strange fucking airport. It could have a lot of weird things to where it does leave itself open for these people that want to see something. Like we talked before, if you want to see something, you're just going to find these reasons. There's some glaring shit about DIA though. There's some glaring shit. You're like, why the fuck would this even be here? And what's the point of this? Right. So it does make me believe that it could be all bullshit and it's PR for them. It's a great way to drive tourists and travelers to DIA. You know, I think one of the videos I was watching yesterday on YouTube was literally somebody that was starting a podcast like show on YouTube. More power to her. But starting that, and she was starting with DIA because she wanted to go to the Denver airport because she had heard of all the conspiracies. And one of the cool things about the Denver airport is there's like 4 or 5 different breweries from local Colorado beers. There's like a Great Divide. There's like the Fat Tire one, right? New Belgium, all this stuff. So you can literally walk around checking out all this weird shit, sipping on beers, right? Sipping on nice local beers. That's pretty. So from a monetary standpoint and profitability standpoint, it would be actually a very smart plan to have this all as a setup, you know, just to bring people in there. Flip side, like you were just saying, though, and what I'm kind of leaning towards would make even more sense is completely making fun of it. Like I don't know if you saw it, but there's multiple times when they're building new restaurants and stuff like this. You have those under construction things, and it's literally a lizard man in like a fucking like, you know, 3-piece suit or whatever.
I have seen that.
Yeah, and it's like, what are we doing? Are we building new restaurants and, you know, like gift shops? Are we creating a new headquarters for the Illuminati? Are we doing this? And they're just, it's really cheeky, right? Really cheeky. They like to have fun with it. But again, the best way to hide is in plain sight, where you aren't suspecting anybody because they're not denying it. They're going right along with it.
It would be like if Jeffrey Epstein walked around was just like, you know, I buy 12-year-old girls. Oh, that's pretty funny. Funny, isn't it? All right. You'd never believe someone.
No, you wouldn't, unless you're a sick fuck like him. But you're right. So the hiding in plain sight thing does kind of get rid of people that can seriously maybe find things out and incriminate like the airport itself, right? Because if they had complete deniers and the airport just denied everything and didn't play along with it, we were talking about this before, I think there'd be a lot more hardcore investigations into why these things are here or why it was designed. It would
end up in Congress. Like, yeah, it would have constituents demanding it.
Yeah, we would. And the other thing that was really interesting to me too is the Denver airport, and this is unnecessary if you ask me, it's the largest airport in the country by far when it comes to acreage and area. And what really struck me is there's more area to the Denver airport. It's larger than the island of Manhattan and New York City.
Right.
That's fucking huge, dude. I mean, again, you know, Manhattan's a small place considerably. It's not like Texas or anything like that. But why do you need all that goddamn space? And most of that does have an equal underground, you know, acreage and above ground. It just seems so over the top.
What I read was that they wanted to make sure that the Denver airport was going to be large enough indefinitely.
Yeah,
even if they were talking about like spaceports and everything, like the Denver International Airport would be able to handle anything for humankind.
So it's basically they were trying to future-proof the airport, right? Like this is never going to be obsolete or too small. Well, and there's other things I heard too. And again, everybody knows the airport in Denver prior to, when did it go up in the mid 90s, right? The DIA was Stapleton Airport, which just like every other city was an airport, very busy airport. One of the reasons why they ended up dismantling it is because the airport was too congested or something like that. But almost like every other airport I've been to, it was in fucking Denver. You know what I mean? Like you could literally get out of the airport, and that's why there still is downtown a lot of gentlemen's clubs and shit like that from the old businessmen in the 70s and 80s that were traveling, doing that shit. There's a lot of hotels down there and everything like that. But for some reason they decided, let's go ahead and build the airport like literally 30 miles outside of town in the middle of nowhere. And they want to claim that's because there was too much noise complaints and stuff like that, noise pollution at the Stapleton Airport. Okay, but there's still hundreds of airports across the country that are in the cities that they...
Yeah, like JFK and O'Hare. They're like all up in the city.
Yeah, that they represent, right? So I don't buy that. And why until recently there was almost no kind of urban commerce or anything like that surrounding the area. It was like just nothing out there. And now they're finally starting to build like, you know, hotels and shit like that. It's crazy. So I find it really hard to believe that you need the area and acreage that's larger than Manhattan to have an airport, just in general, even the future-proof it. So there's that too.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks about DIA, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it a great conspiracy theory is, you know, prove it, disprove it. I dare you. Either way, it'll still live on. And if you guys have any interesting finds or you want to hit us up with it, please feel free. We're always up for new articles, and we'll promote you on Facebook or whatever you want, or even on the show.
Yeah, I agree.
So unless you have anything else we want to spend on the DIA, I think time-wise, I think we're going to have to get on to our stiff truth.
Good. Let's go. I'm done. Hey, the verdict's out on DIA. We're never going to know unless I get in there and I end up suiciding myself because I find the hidden layer downstairs, you know, so we'll to be continued.
We'll find Scott in like 50 years in the FEMA camp.
By myself.
So we wanted to talk about, you know, in light of all the statues being going down and all the defacing of, you know, memorials and public property and kind of America going wild with history, you know, where do we draw the line? You know, what is history? What should we respect and hold dear? What do we need to get rid of because of how offensive it really is and what it stands for and what it means? How do we mold our culture going forward while still remembering the past and respecting the past and where we came from? It's a very fine line that we have to try to identify, and it's a line that everyone's trying to walk right now. So we wanted to talk about, you know, in general, the cancel culture that's going on right now. And it's not just with a Confederate statue.
No, it's with my fucking favorite football team too. So we'll get into that.
Right. I mean, it's about everything. It's about
movies,
literature. Jimmy Fallon, you know, 20 years ago, you did blackface skit, so you shouldn't be on the Tonight Show today.
No, and in fact, you're a racist now, obviously.
Right. So
lose all your credibility.
Yeah, it's just, what purpose does it serve to dig back, you know, 20 years in someone's social media or whatever to try to find something? Because what that says is that people do not have the opportunity to ever grow. And if you've made a mistake in your life, that's it for you. You're done. You don't get a chance to grow and amend that mistakes. Because I'll tell you this, I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. But I appreciate my path, and I appreciate that where I'm at now is because of learning from those mistakes. Because the best opportunity for teaching somebody is affording them the capability of making a mistake.
And Bob, you know, I gotta continue on that a little bit, because I don't know if there's any person out there that just is that put together to not make mistakes, but mistakes are healthy. And there's a term that I use a lot called failing forward, because when you do make mistakes, what does that usually cause most people to do? learn from them. All right. So even if it's a hard thing that you have to learn, usually failure and making mistakes will build you into a better person. Now, there's outliers there, obviously, but for good people, good-hearted people that are trying to better their lives for them and theirs, that's how it works. So to basically give people not the opportunity to make any mistakes without the threat of basically having their, let's just call it, their life erased in the eyes of the public and everybody else, it's a little contradictory to even how we, let criminals out of jail after they've done their time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then in America's the land of second chances. I mean, every Hollywood movie that has success, almost that's a biopic, is about having someone make that mistake and then climb their way back up to success. And those are some of the most epic movies and epic stories that we hold dear to us. But when these days, when we see that, instead of saying, you know what, where are we at? You know, even Mike Vick came back from serving his time and fighting and killing dogs to then is creating SPCA, you know, charitables and nonprofits, and turning the corner and apologizing and owning his mistake, coming back to his professional life and being a productive member of society again. Where is that opportunity if we never get a chance to give that anymore? If that's just gone now, you're supposed to be perfect from the time you're 14 years old until you die. That's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, and it goes against human nature and human compassion. You know what I mean? There has to be, and unless you're like an Epstein or a Ghislaine, obviously they had their second, third, and fourth and fifth chance. They just didn't think anything they were doing was wrong. So we're not talking about that. We're not talking about glorifying Hitler or something like that. I mean, there's certain people that have done enough to say, okay, this person is a horrible, evil person. But yeah, I mean, let's take, for instance, too, just talking about actors. Somebody that got in a shitload of trouble and is now, I believe, the most wealthy actor from his Marvel Universe movies is Robert Downey Jr., right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great story.
Yeah, there was a time when that dude was in and out of fucking jail, rehab, fucking for years and years and years, where a lot of people, he became a laughingstock. Like, this dude is, again, one of the almost child actor type guys, right, that just got into the bad shit, and he's just going downhill. He's going to end up killing himself or other people, and I think he's probably one of the most respected actors, rightfully so.
Yeah, just so that some of the younger stiffies that may not remember this, the Iron Man himself, Tony Stark, was once found high on crack, naked, broken into someone's house, sleeping in their bed.
Yeah, into a young girl's bed. The girl wasn't there, but he just broke into it, thought it was his house because he was fucking high as a kite. But yeah, there's been a few crazy things that man has done. But I mean, that's just one small example, bro. But like, getting into it though, the idea here, not only, and I hear the narrative on one side, and I hear the narrative on the other side. When we start talking about, let's just face it. Let's get right to the big ones, right? When we're talking about Confederate statues and Confederate generals, we talked about this already on another show. Sure, a glorifying statue of Robert E. Lee on a horse with like a sword up and shit like that, you know, probably not. Shouldn't be in front of the Capitol building in a city, right? Should probably not be there. Maybe on like the grounds of a battlefield or something like that. Maybe those statues are more applicable. Just saying, hey, don't forget. And why is he looking like he's, you know, glorified? Well, he's about to go into battle. You know what I mean? This is a battle scene site, right? We want people to remember these battles happen. Because again, the biggest thing to me about cancel culture and this idea of erasing everything that's racist is you're going to erase it enough. Let's just face it. Our kids today are not really doing the same learning, I think, that prior fucking generations did. But if you keep erasing certain things, they're not going to know these things happened, or they're going to be erased so far that it's almost going to be how we grew up about Christopher Columbus. Remember, like when we grew up, Christopher Columbus was like this amazing man that fucking, you know, found America and, you know, and avoided all kinds of Italian oppression and shit like that. And then you find out that he created a lot of genocidal fucking crazy shit and killed a lot of fucking Native Americans. He really wasn't a good guy at all. But at the end of the day, I think knowing about Christopher Columbus and teaching our kids about that is very important. I think them knowing about Robert E. Lee and the Confederacy and why that happened and why it failed and why we should be happy it failed is something they should need to know, because if they don't know these things, they're going to be ignorant that these things ever happened or could happen, and we're going to die. Generations above us that know this are going to die. And history will easily repeat itself with some of these horrific things if we can't learn from our past.
Yeah, and you can't just get rid of every heinous thing that's happened or terrible thing that's happened, because it's important to note that history is not created on the backs of great men. Sometimes history is created on the backs of terrible men. It's written by the victors, so there's always that skew. That's not how it's created, right? So it's important to know that there's always the bad with the good. There's the good with the evil. There's the yin with the yang, right? The right with the wrong. I don't know how many other ways I could say that, but
keep it going, baby. Keep it going.
just because, though, we do need to remember that. I agree that we don't need Robert E. Lee statue in the middle of town square. No, but after the anger has settled down and people are tearing down statues or whatever, you can't just indefinitely stay angry and tear down statues. There comes a point in time where you do have to wrangle in your feelings and become American again and follow law. They're like, you know what? We do need to take down more statues, but guys, let's quit with the mob mentality here, and let's like hit up our legislator and get the rest of these fucking removed legit wise, and we'll put them in a museum and we'll get our way, and that's fine. And the community has spoken. The power is in the hands of the people. But to go out and just take that power like you're an authoritarian regime and no one wants to start a war in the middle of their town over a statue, that's taking it way too far. And it's gone on for too long. There's the right way and a wrong way to do that. And at this point, let's hit up the legislative process. Let's execute the Constitution. Let's do the things that we're supposed to be proud of and why we're in America, and show the respect to the system.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of where it's getting skewed. Some of these younger people don't know America. They don't know what their power is. They're angry and they want to just rip things down and be destructive. And you can, but it's much more potent to be destructive legislatively and create permanent law and action than it is to rip down a statue that, honestly, the next time some other conservative or whatever gets the mayorship or whatever, they're just going to build another one. I mean, but once you make a law or change some legislation, that's forever.
And I hate to say this too, but I mean, I have to address it. I mean, if you're ripping down statues that are either on government property or like a public park or something like that, you're committing a crime. And then people want to say, oh, well, it's not a crime because I'm doing the right thing and not all laws are justified and that kind of bullshit. But what are we really accomplishing here too? And that's the other thing that I really want to stress a lot, is because I get it. This is a knee-jerk backlash reaction from protesting and rioting, and Black Lives Matter movement has a lot to do with it. But I've heard this too, which I thought was very interesting. I had said something about the abolitionists in Philadelphia where they defaced his statues. Somebody literally that fought for the rights for Black people before it was popular. This was the early 1800s that he did a lot of this shit, right? And every time that happens, or the Frederick Douglass statue that was fucking ripped down, always from the hardcore left, I'll hear, well, that wasn't Antifa or Black Lives Matter. That was radical alt-right groups that disguise themselves. And then every one of a Confederate, they'll take the blame, or they'll take the credit for that. But I've literally seen at some of these statues, before they're ripping them down, leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement on megaphones talking about ripping down the statue. So I have a hard time buying that it's always this crazy alt-right group that's doing the ones that defend and are pro African Americans, and it's always Black Lives Matter and Antifa and stuff that are tearing down the right statues.
Well, and even beyond all of that, Scott, does it matter? Does it matter what side you're on? But who's doing it? If there's a fake flag or whatever, you're still tearing down a statue, tearing down government property. You're still committing the same crime. It doesn't really matter.
But that's just my thing, though. That's the deflection for that part of it. Not to take the blame or say, obviously, Black Lives Matter, Antifa wouldn't do this. We're not fucking stupid. It's these people that are trying to make it seem like we're doing it. It's very similar to what we were talking about earlier about like, oh, well, if things happen, it's the grace of God. It's the goodwill of God. If bad things happen, it's like, well, that's God's plan. They're using the same fucking strategy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, they ripped this down. Well, that was obviously these alt-right groups that we can't really name any of them. We'll just call them alt-right extremists.
Right, but it's got to be like awfully nice to have that luxury of never being wrong.
And what's crazy too, or I'm not going to get into this too far, but if you disagree with the extreme left right now that are really, really pushing, let's just face it, they're pushing segregation. They really are. And in a certain respect, you can't disagree with them. You can't stand up and say, hey, this has gone too far, because immediately you're going to be pointed out as a racist. And I don't think that's fair at all. I don't think that's the way we should be going here. So there's that too. So I don't think it's doing anything is the other really big thing. And that's my biggest point. Like, you know, we'll take, for instance, I was joking around. They've been wanting to change the Redskins name. And like I've told you, I've done a lot of research on this in the past because I've been a Redskins fan since I was born. But
we're sorry, Scott.
It's okay. You're a Cowboys fan. So it's okay. You feel my pain. The NFC East is a tough division to be fans. That's for sure. But the biggest thing is, from my understanding, and Stiffies, point, you know, let me know if I'm wrong. I really probably will tell you that you're stupid, because I've done a lot of research on this. Is a portion, Native Americans don't like the name Redskin. It's very offensive to them. Well, that's actually incorrect. There's actually one tribe, and I'm sure there's more people in other tribes, but there's one tribe that has kicked up a lot of this back before all this, you know, all this civil unrest. So back in the 80s and the 90s and stuff, there was one tribe that had a big problem with them. They were the ones that kept taking them to court and trying to get them to change the name. And Schneider obviously said, you know, we're never going to fucking change the name. The name actually is homage and tribute to a Native American that worked with the team when they were created. And I believe the term Redskin is a slang term, but not a derogatory term for a Native American warrior, right? That was like, the Redskins are coming, you know, that kind of thing. So wasn't created offensively at all. It wasn't trying to take a stab at people, but yet here we are, because we're circling the wagons here with everything being canceled and being racist. And now we've got companies that fund, you know, give the Redskins a shitload of money. FedEx Field, right, where they fund like their fucking stadium that they're in. Nike, a couple other big names, saying, hey, if you don't change the name, we're pulling all your shit. So now it's a real thing that we're probably going to end up, and I actually kind of like the new name. This is the front runner right now, is Warriors, Washington Warriors. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. But here's my point of all this.
Are you going to dress up like the 80s Warriors or 79?
We are the Warriors. Oh, yeah. Warriors, come out and play. Yeah, exactly. No, I like that name, because I saw some other ones being kicked around. I was like, oh, God, no, please don't change our name to the fucking Renegades. It sounds like a fucking CFL team or something like that. I'm like, no, don't do
Lorenzo Lamas.
Wow. Yeah, that was a damn good show. Those were the days when Renegade and Walker, Texas Ranger just ruled.
Some TJ Hooker.
But again, getting back to it, my point of all this, tearing down the statues, changing the names. Boston College now has to change the name of their mascot because it's associated with it's associated with Gone with the Wind. Somebody that was named something on Gone with the Wind has the same name as this guy, and they got to change that. So here's my thing. You change the name of the Redskins. You pull down statues of all the Confederates, all the Columbus statues. Frederick Douglass, of course, it was done by white supremacists. You change names of everything. You remove Gone with the Wind off of HBO Max. You take all this stuff now, and I almost want to be like that one meme with the old man at the computer. It's like, there, we did that. The statue's down. Racism's over. You know, like, what are we really fucking accomplishing here besides what we were talking about before? We're erasing parts of history or shielding people. Don't look at it. That was a bad time in our history, right? But apparently my point is there's no direct like effect that's going to do anything for the cause by doing this. So what I think it is it's an empty symbolic gesture. That's it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, there's the thing. I mean, how strong is the tie from symbolism and its effect on tolerance? Is getting rid of the symbolism going to just magically increase tolerance and harmony? I don't necessarily think that's it. I mean, maybe it helps, but is how much that helps promote tolerance and unity in America worth, you know, all the strife that it's causing? Like, where's the balance there? Where's the return on the investment of this? Is it putting our money in the smart place, or is there a different educational thing that we could focus on that's better than these symbolic, statues or whatever. I think that we're not putting our money in the right place here.
And we're not putting our anger in the right place anymore. You know what I mean? If there was literally a statue of Derek, right? Derek piece of shit, the cop in Minneapolis. If there was a statue,
I thought it was just Derek piece of shit. I thought that's where we ended it.
Yeah, Derek piece of shit. Well, Derek piece of shit, son of a bitch, worthless man, whatever. He's got like all these surnames, right? I believe he's English. But no, at the end of the day, if there's statues of people like that, tear them the fuck down and burn them, right? These people don't even deserve to have it. And that's why I made a point of that. They don't even deserve to have their last names reiterated. I don't think so, right? But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And here's the sad part, right? You have people, I was talking to somebody and it's like, they're changing the Redskins name. And I was like, wait, it's really good to see that Dan Snyder's coming around. I'm like, he's not coming around. His pocketbook is about to get really hurt. If he loses FedEx and Nike, he's toast, right? So all these companies, FedEx and Nike, why are they doing this? You know why they're doing this. They're doing it because if they don't take action and they know that they are connected to the Redskins, well, that just shit rolls uphill in that sense, right? And
well, marketing-wise, Nike's made it clear that they've picked a side on this.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they've ran a multi-million-dollar ad with Colin Kaepernick. I mean, they've definitely picked the social side of this. And it's not out of morality.
No,
they've done this because of
money.
They did a impact analysis on profitability, and they went with the more profitable side. And so let's not construe any of this profitability with morality. The Redskins aren't looking at changing their name because of morality. They're looking at because Nike's putting the squeeze on them. Why is Nike putting the squeeze? Well, because their fucking estimates have them more profitable if they do. So it's all down to where the money's going. None of these companies give a fuck about harmony, racial justice, or injustice in America. None of them give a shit about how we feel, how we treat each other, or if we're murdering anyone or not. These companies do not care. They're a corporate conglomerate sitting by a board of people at the top of the company, a board of executives that are analyzing their max profitability, and that's the bottom line.
How do we minimize cost and maximize profit? That is all they're fucking concerned about, which I think is funny. I've heard a lot of people say, well, hey, it's really great that this is happening. We already talked about it. It's kind of like an empty symbolic kind of gesture, right? A lot of these things. And none of these companies, like you were just saying, they don't give a shit. So again, this is not only not doing anything to further actual, racial injustice and just more harmony between Americans and people in general. I would have to imagine that seems like that would be the ultimate goal of all this, right? Is to get everybody to feel equal and not be so divisive and not be so segregated and not be so just fucking, I don't even know how to say it basically, but my point is all this is doing, and you've mentioned it too, is all this is doing is wherever the money is, that's where the decisions will be made. And I'm going to go ahead and say this because most politicians are pieces of shit, but a lot of politicians that are backing up these movements, they honestly probably really don't give two shits either. It's all about getting reelected, right?
Well, that's where the donor money is going to come from.
Exactly.
Again, following in line with the fucking projections and the money.
Exactly. It's disgusting, man. So I'm fed up with it. To a certain extent, I tolerated it. I'll just say that initially because I was like, all right, okay, I kind of get that. And now it's just always something. It's like there's a team of people literally like, what could we literally fucking destroy or erase today that's not exactly something I like a lot? It's
well, and there comes a point in time where where's your social change movement? Like, what's your end game here? If you don't have an end game and you're just being indefinitely destructive all the time, well, what are you doing there? You're not imposing any sort of social change. You're not fixing anything. You're not solving any problems. No. You're just creating problems.
You're creating more unrest and you're creating more chaos, right? And that's my concern, dude. And I never want to. I see this a lot, but I never want to draw the parallels between what's going on right now in the United States with the cancel culture and the trying to erase of history to Nazi Germany. But you know what? One of the things that the Nazis did is they dismantled the regular police. Now, don't get me wrong. He had the Gestapo and everything, right? He made his own stronger police force. He did that. They also tore down a shitload of statues, burned a shitload of books. The less people know and the more of your rhetoric, that's all they get. Your rhetoric just getting pumped in. That's how you control people, dude. So again, where does it stop? And I know I'm kind of going out on a limb there, but my point is when you have this mob mentality, it never stops with just ripping down statues. So when they get tired of ripping down statues, what's next?
Or when there's just no more statues.
Well, that'd be kind of weird, huh?
So, I mean, again, there comes a point in time where I understand with making white America and the majority uncomfortable to implement social change. Sometimes you got to shake things up and make people uncomfortable to make them see and understand and implement social change and create the conversation. Well, now that the conversation has been created, now that there's legislation happening, now that there's actual action happening throughout the communities, there's national bills being proposed from Congress and the Senate, like things are actually starting to happen. Now you got to take a step back and be like, cool, we have momentum. Let's use that momentum. Let's get these laws into place. But that doesn't seem to be happening near as much. I mean, it is by the elder folks that understand like what's happening here and what creates permanent change. But you still have a lot of the younger people that just don't really get it, and they're still out there just trying to get the attention, but the attention's already been received. So now it's time for permanent action, and that's where I think it's falling a little bit short now. And if you don't take advantage of this opportunity while you have everyone's focus and attention on you to create that social change, the news cycle will blow by. Yeah. And it will that opportunity will go away for,
and honestly,
who knows how long.
The mob mentality too, and as this continues without, like we've always preached, man, do it the right way. Get in there, talk to your legislators, congressmen, whatever it is, right? Get the change done permanently with laws, right? But here's the thing: you keep the mob mentality. Excuse me, finishing my second Mai Tai. They're nice. But if you keep that, and again, this just creates more chaos and more violence and more destruction. What does that do to the movement in general, right? It's not going to be seen. Like you had said, basically, hey, you've got the spotlight, guys. Black Lives Matter. Like let's get this shit done. Everybody's watching. A lot of people are eager to help out because there is injustice that needs to be addressed. We need to start the dialogue. We need to get it going, right? But if you continue with the chaos and the bullshit, that's going to be very diluted. The mission, what they're trying to accomplish is going to be murky. It's not
taken away from the message.
It's taken away from the message completely. And that's it's a big negative for them right now, man, is they do have the floor. Hey, it's like, hey, Black Lives Matter, you have the floor. And they're like, well, I'm just going to rip this shit down and burn this guy's building and fucking destroy this guy's fucking, business and fucking loot this Target and all this shit. You're like, okay. And again, I know everybody that's listening to this right now, that's hardcore. And that's like, that wasn't Black Lives Matter. That was the alt-right groups. I'm like, sure. It's always the alt-right groups. Yeah, whatever.
Or even the radical left groups, or even just opportunists that are like trying to loot and take advantage of the chaos.
Sure.
That exists too.
But unfortunately, even if it's some hard up people that are like, hey, fuck, there's a riot going on here. I don't have a lot of shit. I need to go get a new TV real quick and grab some stuff. They're going to be associated with the Black Lives Matter movement and the rioters. So and then all of a sudden you're going to have this time where it's a tipping point where it's like, okay, we're taking you guys really seriously. You're right. There's a lot of things that need to be changed. We really need to get a lot of things done here to make sure that we can not have all this injustice. And then it's going to tip over the other way and be like, these people are extremist, crazy, fucking anarchist, chaotic fucking criminals. And we're not even going to listen to you anymore. Like you said, next news cycle. Let's move on. We're tired of this. So that's where I fear this is going to go, because I don't see the mob mentality slowing down. Now, I have seen this, which has been interesting. CNN has reported it. There's been a couple of really notable liberal journalists and activists that said this has gone too far. So wake up call for a lot of people that are on this extreme side. There's very intelligent liberal journalists, activists, authors, and stuff like that are even seeing the writing on the wall if this goes the way it's going. So, I mean, kind of tap them on the shoulder there a little bit, I think,
Yeah, and in the end, you just have to be careful with anything when you're trying to get your message out. Once the message is out, you have to take advantage of it. You can't just keep indefinitely trying to get the message out, because here it is. The message is here. Message has been received. America is listening. Now is the time. We need to not waste this time and hit the reset button. Otherwise, all of this was for nothing.
Yeah, all this is for nothing, and all it's going to do is cause a lot of suffering and pain. And what I actually see it doing, unfortunately, is I see it contradicting and backfiring on the mission itself, right? If Black Lives Matter, and I have to say that because I've heard ownership of the actual movement is a little bit dicey and shady too. So I don't know. But my point is, if they're trying to create just racial justice, they're trying to, let's just fix the broken system, the systematic racism that we have in a lot of different sects of the society and everything like that. If they're literally trying to do that, and then all they're really doing is creating more divide and more self-hate for people that aren't Black and stuff too. So, I mean, I don't see, without the right message being conveyed, I don't see this getting any better the way it's going, very simply because, again, we're going to erase a lot of things. And I think this is going to cause more divide between races at the end of the day if it keeps going the way it's going, because the message is going to be lost, right? The message is going to be lost. So now let's just fast forward 5 years. Here's my worry is we're going to almost be like fucking rebooted to the 1950s. You know what I mean? And people are going to want like all Black this and fucking all white this, all Hispanic this. And that's not good for anybody, dude. You know, that's not the way we need to be doing it, because it's okay to acknowledge our differences, but to treat people differently because of our differences, that's what we're trying to get away from. Right. So that's the fear I have with that.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else. If you take something too far, you run the risk of radicalizing a section of people. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what has been happening here with minorities. The minorities have been mistreated and been radicalized, and now they're standing up, and you see it's kind of popping out like this. So if you keep going and the pendulum swings the other way, mm-hmm. now you're radicalizing, white people again, or at least the less understanding, which, let's just be honest, there's a lot out there that don't understand this movement and don't appreciate this movement in general. And we know that there's a lot of that going on in the country. We see it all the time in the news cycles. And so you do run the risk of easily radicalizing those sections, and then they're going to blow up in their own mob mentality. And it's just like back and forth and back and forth. That's why this whole topic takes a lot of nuance and skill and legislation to approach. And it changes. It's asking for a culture change. Culture changes are the hardest things to enact in any sort of group of people.
100%.
Not just changing policy or changing laws, but a cultural shift is a very hard thing to do in business. It's a very hard thing to do in society. So what we're asking for here is a cultural shift, and that's going to take probably decades to make a lot of gain on. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I know that message has been received in America. The spotlight is on BLM. It's time for legislative action. It's time to start making the foundation of these cultural changes, and it's time to start being more mindful of the future and our fellow Americans.
Seriously, yeah, and I think that's kind of where like my final thoughts on the entire deal is just like, we're gonna, if we're not careful, we're gonna make this country worse by trying to think we're making it better,
right?
And that's kind of the long short of it for me. So
yeah, and that's honestly what got us into this situation to begin with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I got, man.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for your time. We appreciate you listening. We love all of our Stiffies. The drill, review us, rate us on iTunes, follow us on Spotify, yada, 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 yada. Tell your friends.
Give us some feedback on these topics here too. I know they're a little stiff. That's why we pick them and everything. So if you guys disagree, have a difference of opinion, you want to follow up with something, let us know. Comment on YouTube, send us an email. That's Bob or Scott at The Stiff Truth, right? But I'd love to hear some feedback from people, because I know we do know everything, right? But I'd like to hear some I'd like to hear some other perspectives occasionally. But yeah, like Bob said, you guys are awesome, man. And I'm really pumped up about next week and another conspiracy that we're going to dive into. And I can't wait. My mouth is already watering what kind of cocktail we're going to come up to for the stiff drink. So excited about that. You want to bring us home?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for listening. Appreciate your time. I'm Bob West here with Scott Casanova, and we will see you next week.
Cheers.